Hello guys and welcome to episode 2. Thanks again for joining us for another show. We hope you enjoyed the first one and we're very happy with the feedback from our new listeners. We have 10 new subscribers and over 100 views on our first episode, which is an awesome start. So let's get cracking. Brett, Lockie, had a good week? Have we enjoyed this week's football, may I ask?
Take away the last hour and a half. Yeah, it's been good, thanks.
I don't think it was as exciting as last week's football, and Leeds lost again, which was not great. But yeah, plenty to talk about, I'm sure.
Wasn't particularly enjoyable for us all, but I think we've learned to live with those type of results.
Well, I think when you get Burnley versus West Brom, Fulham versus Sheffield United, they don't shout excitement at me, and they weren't that exciting, in my opinion.
Didn't see much of the Burnley game.
I was watching Jeff, and I saw a few of the highlights popping up, and West Brom, how they didn't score a goal is beyond me. Even with 10 men, they still had plenty of chances.
Yeah, Burnley are struggling without Chris Wood, to be honest. Not that they create much anyway.
No, they had a couple of chances from what I saw as well, but that's the sort of game that's got 0-0 written all over it, in my opinion. So I wasn't exactly surprised with the outcome.
No, yeah, definitely one for a goalless draw, board draw, snooze fest. I think Fulham are doing well. They're certainly picking up points, and Scott Parker seems to have got them going.
Well, they've got Loftus-Cheek. He looks quality. And Lookman, playing down the left-hand side, he's different class compared to most of their players. And I think they'll stay up.
I think Lookman's bounced back really well from that penalty fiasco earlier on in the season. I think he's a lesser player, could have just gone under and hid and gone into a shell, but he seems to have taken it on and is thriving in a Fulham team.
Yeah, it's a massive moment for both him and the club, really.
Well, when we saw him, however many seasons ago, playing against Rochdale for Charlton, you could tell then he was different class and he was going to be decent. And then he went to the Bundesliga, didn't he? And now he's back in Fulham colours and he's doing all right. He definitely looks different class compared to others.
Yeah, one that Kashmaro seems to have fitted in well is Josh Madger. He's just provided that outlet and sort of that threat, because other than that, they've not had that guy up front that's really been able to provide anything. So having that threat just helps them to know that they have that option available. Having Madger it just looks a good player as well, not one that they've just brought in. But
I've been disappointed in Mitrovic.
Yeah, I think everyone has. Is he out with COVID at the minute?
Oh yeah, COVID. Yeah, COVID back late February apparently. I don't know. Even when he's been in the side, he's been in and out. He hasn't really set the world on fire, has he? I mean, obviously they struggled earlier on in the season, tightened up at the back, which has allowed them to then stay in games, and then they have got players at the other end of the pitch that can create and change games.
Well, someone who's been so established in the Premier League before, he's only scored 2 goals this season, and when he's the main threat in that team, you'd expect a much better return than that. Their top goal scorer is Bobby Reid.
Just says it all, doesn't it?
Says it all, yeah, it does.
Yeah. But I look at Fulham and I still think that, like you said, I think they'll stay up as well. I think they play good football. They're enjoyable to watch, which obviously doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to stay up or deserve to stay up. But I just think there are teams down there, Newcastle, who are playing at the moment, and I think they're a better side than Newcastle. Whether they're going to be able to pick up enough results that are better than Newcastle towards the end of the season, we'll wait and see. But I think if I was on the North East, I'd be getting a little bit twitchy.
Yeah, they've got a hard run of games coming up, but one thing I would say is they look much better defensively. They're not letting that many goals in at the moment, which is definitely going to help the cause.
I like an underrated player, and I think Anguissa is one of those players that just gets on with his work, does the job that he needs to do, and lets everyone else go on. Been a big help to them. I think I saw a stat online. They took on like 12 take-ons, which is the most of anyone. Which is, again, it's just sort of is your player that can just go past someone and go past another and just get yourself flowing, rather than winning it and just passing it side to side and not getting anything going. If you've got that momentum, then you're always going to be on the front foot.
I think that's another example of how long it takes for some people to adjust to the league. So he joined them for big money when they came up last time. Didn't really do much. Last season went on loan while they were in the Championship. I think he went to Villarreal, I believe. And then he's come back again this season. They've kept him on and he's done really well this season.
Yeah, he was playing against Valencia when we were there.
Yeah.
And he was the star of the show for them.
Yeah, he ran the midfield, didn't he?
Yeah. I know they lost 2-1, but he played really well.
Yeah, don't be surprised if people would belling up his agent, just seeing what can be done, because he's not going to cost loads of money, but he can definitely do a job. Top half teams that need that type of player. And what do you reckon on Sheffield United's chances?
Yeah, that's it. I think after last night, they're too far behind.
They're not picking up enough, are they?
No, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Sheffield United. Their start of the season is very difficult to recover from, and to be honest, there hasn't really been a recovery. Really, they picked up a couple of good results. Yeah, there's just not enough quality there. I think last season I know they definitely overachieved. They've suffered a bit with injuries. Jack O'Connell is one of their centre backs, and I know you would say, "Oh, centre backs shouldn't make much of a difference to their creativity," but he was one of their underlapping centre backs, shall I say, last season on the left hand side, and they've just not been able to replace him really, and they've just suffered creativity all season really.
Yeah, they got goals from Muse quite a bit last year. Not a massive amount, but even if he popped up with like 10 throughout the total, that's still enough to bag you, say 10 points, which is obviously massive down the bottom. I was quite surprised with his comments. I think I was obviously getting a bit of a hump, understandably so. Obviously, as I said that the Premier League won't have to put up with us much longer.
I didn't catch that comment.
Yeah, it hit out of the decision of the penalty incident.
Oh, it was an assault.
So I think we've all seen it and we all agreed that, again, we go back to last week and the consistency of the not being there.
I don't know if you guys listened to the post-match of that, where Graham Souness was in the studio, and he was making the point that we made last week about the referees just not being good enough. He made the point of how many English referees went to the World Cup in 2018, and the answer was 0. And he was just like, well, you know what, you can see why. He even came out with, they just make it up as they go along, and that just kind of sums it up, really.
Well, as I said last week, sometimes they're making their decisions and what they think other people will want them to do rather than their actual own opinion.
Yeah.
Although it was good to see one that went to the screen and wasn't overturned. That was good. So they don't always overturn a decision when they go to the screen.
Which one was that?
That was the Liverpool-Everton one.
It wasn't a penalty, though, was it?
Well, I think it's up for debate, but he obviously didn't think it was, and he stuck with his guns, which was good to see.
I want to know if he actually watched it, because he weren't there very long, was he?
No, but like someone said, he ran over there, pretty much just like put his eye on the screen, then just ran straight away. Whether that's true or not is another story. But
he barely looked at it.
He probably just saw the contact and went, "Yeah, that's a penalty. I'm not changing my mind." And that's what you do want to see that.
Yeah, but like we discussed last week, I said the VAR isn't there to make the correct decisions, just to make sure that there wasn't a mistake. So you can't technically say that he's made a shocker there. I suppose he has tripped him up. Obviously, he's not meant to, but
it is a bit unfortunate for Alexander-Arnold because he wasn't going for the man at all. He's trying to block the ball, but Calvert-Lewin's run into him, and you can have your opinion on whether you think it is not a penalty, but there's definitely contact there, isn't there?
So I kind of wish that they had turned it over, and not because I don't think it was a penalty, because I don't think it was anyway. I just think that decision and that refereeing decision has just taken away a bit of the shine of Everton's performance. And if Everton had gone on to win the game 1-0, nobody would have been talking about a decision. They would have been talking about a brilliant Everton performance. Instead, they're talking about the referees and the VAR being the centre of attention again. I just think it a bit unfair on Everton, who hadn't won in Anfield for such a long time. The Liverpool had a lot of the ball in that game, but didn't really do much with it. All the moments of quality in the attacking third all came from Everton, and I thought they thoroughly deserved to win the game.
Yeah, the Richarlison finish was very good. I don't think they're making Liverpool out to be pushing them away from the decision, because I think everyone can see that the poor form is there for everyone. I would agree that they're probably taking the shine away, but on the other hand, I don't believe they're letting Liverpool out of the light as such, because it's there to see that just struggling on all fronts. Even from the get-go, like the goal was 2 minutes in, and Thiago tried to header it to someone, just ended up at Rodriguez, who slid in behind, and so did Richarlison. As I say, absolutely fair play to Everton.
They deserved it, and I think if Salah and Mane start focusing on trying to score goals rather than diving in the box whenever they have half a sniff of doing so, they might be a little bit more successful. This is 2 weeks in a row now. Salah has done a blatant dive, puts his arms out like a fairy, goes to ground, and rightly so, nothing given. I'd like him to get booked for doing it soon.
I'm getting fed up of it, to be honest.
I don't particularly want to keep discussing it. We could just say, same old Mo Salah.
It's just ridiculous.
He should be facing some retrospective action, if you ask me.
But on this podcast, we will not discuss Mo Salah's dive.
Well, maybe.
What do we make of the Hudson-Odoi and Tuchel debacle.
I think it's a bit refreshing for a manager to come out and say what he really thinks. Whether he should do, probably not. But I think that's the type of guy he is. He's got a reputation for ruffling a few feathers, shall we say. And if he's not happy, then he's going to take him off, isn't he?
He's clearly shown he's going to do it his way.
Definitely.
I'd probably say it's a bit harsh on Hudson-Odoi. Then come out and just question his attitude, his work rate, and everything else publicly. I think is quite harsh. I watched Match of the Day and they brought it up. They pointed out the fact that he actually was involved in quite a bit in sort of the revival of them getting back in the game. So whether that was just Match of the Day with Match of the Day and sort of just trying to put the shoe on the other foot and show us the other side, maybe. It's a way of management which I suppose we haven't seen, so we'll see how that plays out. I think Southampton played okay. I think Lockie said it was sort of against form, but I suppose form runs out one way or the other. So I think Vestergaard is massive for them. I think it's like they just know they've got the brick wall back there, so they can focus on moving forward.
Did they not play Hudson-Odoi as a 10? I think so, and I think that might have something to do with it.
I think they played like Werner and Hudson-Odoi as like inverted wingers, and then Mount played as like the 10.
See, Hudson-Odoi is best on the wing, isn't he? Running a fullback.
Yeah, if he's going to chuck him sort of up like that weird inside forward position, then like I say, from what I saw, he impacted the game enough.
My question is why is Ziyech not starting if they spent all this money on him in the summer? I know he wasn't Tuchel's signing. Same goes with Chilwell. Obviously, now they've reverted back to a 3 at the back. Alonso suits that wing back position. Tuchel obviously feels like Alonso's better suited in that position than Chilwell. If I was Chilwell, I'd be concerned for the Euros now if he's not getting in the Chelsea team. And obviously, Luke Shaw's playing well for United at the moment, I think. So
I know it's probably thrown it out there. It was a massive shame that James Justin got injured when he did. Not that he probably would have played, but it just would have been nice to see some form of reward for someone who'd been thrown in the deep end. And considering Leicester's position, I think all the players that have played their part deserve the credit.
Leicester are a good side all round, aren't they? I mean, Liverpool go on about all their injuries, but Leicester have had a fair few this season as well, and they're still playing really well. I mean, Maddison went off again today, I think. But yeah, Vardy's been out parts of the season. Soyuncu had a bad injury. Ricardo Pereira had an injury, a long-term injury. They're both starting to come back now.
Pratt's out at the minute, and Ndidi was out for a long time. But everyone's dealt with it differently. Obviously, Liverpool worse than most for whichever reason. Lockie, what did you make of Leeds?
Obviously, it's a bit of a freak goal. As I said, I'd rather it just went straight in rather than hit the crossbar and then hit Meslier. But to be fair to Meslier, after his performance last week, he played well, made a few decent saves. We missed a hatful of chances. Cooper missed 3 or 4 headers where you'd think he'd slot at least one. But, it was one of them games. We didn't take any chances. You're never going to get points if you don't score the goals.
I thought Neto was good again.
Yeah, he played well, but like when I was watching it, I thought Traore just looks really average. Then out of nowhere, he just bangs his shot off the crossbar. It's then hits our goalkeeper, obviously, as I've already said. And he didn't look great, but then he done that. It was just a magical moment. Yeah.
It just sums him up. I think he's been a disappointment this season. I'd like to think he would admit that as well. He had a very good season last year, but this year hasn't really hit the heights to even any degree that I think he would have liked.
I don't think he's been a regular in the side though, is he? I don't think he's.
No.
think he's. I think he's another one of these players that needs to be a regular in the side, get a run of games going, and getting into the momentum of things, being in and out of the side. And obviously this season they've been changing formations. For some reason, Nuno decided that he wanted to change up their style of play from what's been working well for them. They started it. They played like that for the start of the season. The results weren't really going their way, and I think they're slowly changing back to their old formation of 3 at the back.
Yeah, since they signed Semedo, played regular, which is fine. But I don't think he's been outstanding or been a game changer for them. I'm sure he's been a decent signing, but considering how badly they've played without Jimenez, the only real player who has stepped up is Neto. So for Traore to sit on the bench most of the time, it's probably frustrating for him. And like you say, he needs that game time, which he did. He played a lot last year and produced.
I think also what you got to consider with Wolves is they lost Doherty in the summer. He was a big player for them. They lost Jota. Johnny, their left foot wing back, has just come back from a cruciate injury, I believe. And then obviously Jimenez, their main striker, fractured a goal against Arsenal. So yeah, it's not been easy for them either, really.
Another problem for Traore as well is Daniel Podence. When he's played, he has been so good. So Traore's not going to get in over him.
Is he injured at the moment?
Yeah, he's injured. That's why he didn't play on Friday. But like, as I said, watching Traore's performance, I can see why he's not in the starting 11. One moment of magic, yes, but he really didn't look all that, in my opinion.
No.
Podence has had a good few weeks prior, but I wouldn't say he's done nothing more than Traore has in order to deserve his position.
I just think he's been consistent. He scores goals and assists.
His goal against us was good earlier in the season.
Did Leeds look good going forward, Lucky? Or
Rafinha was putting in some great crosses. Once again, he is star of the show for us.
I didn't think you had your spark on Friday, if I was honest. I watched the game.
No,
I didn't.
but I still think if we had won the game, there would not have been any complaints. I think a draw would have been a fair result, but say we'd won 1-0, I think it probably would have been deserved.
I think after me giving you a bit of ribbing, I think I said to you it should have been a draw. I think the draw was the fair result, I think.
but Daniel Podence has got as many yellow cards as he has assists.
Well, he's committed then, isn't he?
What's that, 15?
2,
How many goals has he scored?
3.
Oh, he's rubbish then.
Do we jump to Arsenal?
We can jump to Arsenal. I'm sure you've got plenty to say.
I'm not sure how I feel. I mean, losing 1-0 to Man City, who again, they're just relentless. I don't understand how they're that good. I think I said exactly the same line last week. And I can't put my finger on why they're so good. But they are just so consistent in every area, regardless if it's work rate, regardless if it's keeping possession, regardless whatever stat you look at. I think they're just consistent, and something has clicked. Obviously, this year has been very strange for us all, but they've managed to click something that no one else has. Hence, why they're just swiping teams over. But just going back to Arsenal, a 1-0 loss doesn't look that bad. I'm sure I haven't been on Twitter to look, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of fans complaining. I would probably question a few things. Is there certain players that can do more? But I mean, that's very easy being said when you're not going to have the ball, and when we should be probably 4-0 down in 10 minutes, we're going to be struggling. So I don't know. I take it with a pinch of salt. We all hate losing, but it's Man City who are the best team in Europe currently and are 10-1 to win the quadruple. So am I complaining too much? And am I going to lose any sleep? Probably not.
So to answer your question on how Man City is so relentless, I looked at the team sheet when that came out earlier, and I didn't look at the City starting 11 because I knew it was going to be good anyway. I looked at City's bench. On that bench, you had Walker on the bench, you had Mendy on the bench, you had Foden on the bench, you had Aguero on the bench, you had Jesus on the bench, and just nobody can compete with that.
Actually, Rodri didn't play either, did he?
Rodri was on the bench. Sorry, yeah, he was on the bench too. Laporte was on the bench. Ferran Torres was on the bench. Now, I'm not being funny here, but every single one of them pretty much gets in every other Premier League team, and that is why they're 10 points clear. That is why they're in the League Cup final. That's why they're in the FA Cup still. That's why they're still in the Champions League.
Well, they found 4 defenders that don't look like they're ever going to concede a goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like John Stones had a Aubameyang in his back pocket today.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't difficult, but yeah, he did.
Who would have said that about John Stones this time last season? Like in the summer, he was linked with us, and I was thinking, I'm not sure I want him.
You would now.
And now I think, he's
going to have to start.
What, for England?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course he is. There's no doubt about it. His form is much better than any other centre half England have. I mean, Diaz, obviously, them two, they've become best mates. Keep high-fiving each other throughout the games. But they both just give each other confidence.
Not defending, didn't they?
Going back to Arsenal, I had no hope for today. In the first 10 minutes, I think it's going to be a cricket score, but we kept it at 1. I think partly was down to them turning the gears down a little bit, and partly because we sorted ourselves out a little bit. But you got to think that it was 2 of our players were pretty much playing for City today. Our 2 centre midfielders. I think someone needs to give them a sat nav or a map to take on the pitch to let them know what way we're shooting, because they tend to pass backwards all the time. You got Xhaka and El Neni in the middle, and El Neni, I don't know how he's a professional footballer to be honest, but all he does is run. Either of you could go up the park and run for 90 minutes.
Well, I don't know, Lockie could do that.
Oh, I reckon so.
90 minutes, no chance. But like last week, Arsenal played good attacking football. I know Leeds and Man City are not comparable in any way, but the attacking threat just wasn't there today.
I thought in spells, like for the 10 minutes before half time, I thought we did all right.
Yeah, but did you ever think you were going to score? Because
no,
I didn't watch the whole game, But I watched about 60 minutes of it, and not at one point was I worried that Arsenal were going to ruin my Ederson clean sheet fantasy football.
No.
I saw a stat on Sky Sports that Arsenal didn't have any shots on target after 80 minutes, and City only had one shot on target.
We had no shots on target in the second half.
Or in the game. That's what it said on the TV anyway.
10 is in the first half was on target from long range.
It's still a completely different performance to last week. I mean, as I said, obviously the level of opposition is completely different, but you still, from what I saw, it wasn't really going for it. It was just all very slow and didn't really look like you were bothering Man City defenders at all.
I think from my point of view as an Arsenal fan, I'm really getting miffed off with and concerned with is the fact we always start games very slowly. Like, we never come out of the blocks in the first 10 minutes and think, oh, we're going to score 1 or 2 here. We always look like we're going to concede. For example, the Villa game we conceded earlier against Watkins scored. Today we were behind. It's just constant. Like, you're making it. Arsenal have been renowned for making it difficult for themselves anyway. But going a goal down so early is just not starting well. I mean, you've got to set your stall out to think, oh, we're going to have a good game here. We'll start well, start fast. You look at City in the first 10 minutes today. Their passing was crisp. Their passing was quick. It was accurate. We could barely get near them, let alone the ball. And we were just standing off them. It's not as even if we were standing off marking them. How Sterling wins a header in our penalty box is beyond me.
Well, he is taller than Holding, isn't he? So.
Oh, yeah. Giant.
5'7"
and a half.
It was great placement though on the old header. Lovely finish.
Sterling just takes one step in the other way, and it's just one of those lucky things, really.
But he should have scored before and after. He had 3 chances in the first 10 minutes. It should have been game over.
Just going back to what Lockie said about Arsenal not being sort of firing at the other end, I'd love to come out and sort of question some performances. Aubameyang's impact on some games I've always thought is not enough considering. But again, I don't want to put that out there and be one of those fans that does that when we have been just completely dominated. And I'd love to say you're a professional footballer, you should be doing more. But I just think against Man City, you just can't do that. I'd love to be able to think that one of our players would be able to come out of the blocks and do so. I think the second half was slightly better from what I recall, other than drinking my Heineken.
I think as soon as Arsenal sort out their centre midfield, you'll see a completely different team. We've got 2 centre midfielders in there that are so limited with what they can do. I mean, Thomas Partey, ever since he's come to Arsenal, has been so injury prone. It's been so unfortunate. But he is a class above any other centre midfielder that Arsenal have got at the club. You look at through time at all the successful football teams of the centre midfielders that they've had, sorry. Centre midfield is so important in the football because it controls the game. It gets the ball forward. You look at Arsenal's 2 centre midfielders today, and I know I've gone on about Oneni and Xhaka earlier, but just in general, I mean, you look at the other options that Arsenal have got in centre midfield. You look at Ceballos, he's tidy on the ball. He did play well against Benfica in the week, but he just takes so many touches on the ball. Aubameyang, he's never going to be a centre forward up front to hold the ball up, bring others into play. That's not him. He's reliant on quick forward passes while the other team's out of shape. When you've got 2 centre midfielders in the middle of the park who just like taking touches on the ball, being conservative, passing sideways and backwards, that's never going to help Aubameyang.
That's one of the things that winds me up about the current game. When I think back to, I don't know, just even go back 5-10 years ago, for example, when the amount of goals that Henry scored when he'd just roll the defender and he'd just run in behind and it'd be one-on-one the keeper, he'd either slot it home or he'd go around the keeper, whatever. I see Aubameyang wanting that to happen, but it just doesn't. And rightly so, that is sort of down to our midfielders not wanting to pass forward for whichever reason. But even in the modern game, you just don't see it anymore. It's pass. And I just think it's just I don't understand why, because it's not that difficult. As we pointed out from last week, with Liverpool playing the high line, which again they got caught out again, which okay, they put themselves in the deep end, I suppose, yesterday. But I just don't see why teams don't play that way, especially when forwards are more pronounced to have better pace than a lot of the defenders. It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, I think for Arsenal and Aubameyang, I think he's better suited out wide. Between me and Brett, we know the reason why Lacazette all of a sudden got dropped.
Oh, Lacaz's off in the summer.
Yeah, but ultimately, that is the type of centre forward that we probably need that can do the all-round game. Unfortunately, we're not going to have the money to probably buy that person.
I don't think he's going that way. I think he's going for a quick, nimble striker with creative players behind him, which is fine, except for games you play against City that you get none of the ball because you've got nobody to hold it up.
But then if you are doing that, then you play a different way. You play the way where, like Liverpool, like Everton did, sorry. They're happily not have the ball and they'll sit there with 10 men. But when they get the ball, it's going in behind. It's going in behind because Henderson, I know he went off injured, but it's going in behind two centre backs because they want them on the back foot. Okay, it's easily said than done when you've got Diaz, who has been arguably player of the season in terms of his impact. If you're not going to make it happen, then you don't know. It's pointless passing it side to side and backwards, as you say.
But then until Arsenal get players in that are willing and able to do that, you're not going to get the best out of Aubameyang, unfortunately.
No, and I think unfortunately it's gonna take too long, and we might miss out. Although we were sort of praising the gods for him signing, hopefully next season when the fans are back and the atmosphere is slightly different and we've made a few more changes, then we can hope for that Aubameyang to be back. But
big summer at the club for sure.
I think we can all safely say that London in general isn't red for Arsenal or blue for Chelsea or Spurs. It's claret and blue at the minute.
Oh, they're brilliant, aren't they? West Ham, brilliant side. The turnaround under Moyes has been ridiculous. They brought in players like Soufal, bargain. Never would have heard of him before this season, but he's come in. 5 million, I think he signed from Sparta Prague.
Yeah, they both come from Sparta, didn't they, I think.
Yeah, Souček as well. He's an example of what Arsenal could do with him at midfield.
I think he's a very rare player because they play obviously like the 4-2-3-1. But it's very rare that you have, obviously Rice is sitting completely, but it seems that he has the license just to be that box to box. I say that in terms of box to box, they do get forward, but they don't really tend to score. Obviously, they track back, they win balls, but they also drive forward. But this guy seems to still be scoring and being in the right place at the right time. And I don't think the fans should be questioning the club in terms of transfers nowadays, especially in this limited season where we knew in January that the funds haven't been spent by the clubs this year, and they would have had to have used their scouting network, and they've certainly done that well.
But what a signing Lingard's been as well. He's come in, he just looks like the old Lingard again. After playing pretty much no football for the last couple of seasons, he's just been unreal.
What was the old Lingard though?
Well, England's starting 11, mate, scoring goals.
Don't make me sick.
Here we go to Euros.
I repeat, don't make me sick.
They were talking about it today. Lingard and Ali out. How can you argue against that at the moment?
Ali was never in to take him out.
No, I know, but there's plenty of other options in that position. But it's just good to see Lingard come back and playing with the confidence that he had, and he's an exciting footballer when he's playing well.
Yeah, it was a good move for him. I've never rated him massively as in he could impact games. This is probably the best I've seen him play. I know he used to come to the Emirates and do his stupid moonwalk, and that used to bug the hell out of me, and I'd curse his name. But the goal today, which we can touch on VAR in a second.
It's a great finish.
But yeah, left foot, which I didn't know Lingard had, to be honest. It's just, yeah, as we mentioned last week, confidence in the player is huge.
Well, about the VAR, I literally walked into the room as he had scored the goal, and they were saying that they thought it might be ruled out. But then when they look back at it, it's a legit goal. Nothing wrong with it at all. Come off a defender, and then what a finish. Great placement into the bottom corner.
Yeah, it's a banger.
And then they deservedly take the 2-0 lead. And Antonio, he's decent, pops up with a few goals and that when he's playing. And they fully deserve to be where they are at the moment. I mean, we watched them, didn't we? First game of the season, and they just narrowly lost to Arsenal. And we thought with the start they had, the games they had, they were going to be in the bottom after sort of 8 to 10 games. But they proved us wrong, and they've been up there all season, deservedly so.
What was interesting is I was listening to the Talk Sport in the week, and it was the Moose, Hams, and he brought up about the fans not being in the stadium and how that's probably one of the clubs in the league that has benefited. And I would have to agree that is probably the case because the players have been able to concentrate on the football. They're not seeing weekly signs calling out the board. They're not seeing the hostility that they used to. The thought of putting in a bad performance and being called out for it isn't there. So it's one of the rare occasions where they've been able to concentrate on their football, and that goes down to Moyes' match restart. And I think they have to be applauded for that. And I think he has to be candidate for manager of the season if they get into top 6, top 4, top 6.
I'm pleased for Moyes. I think he's had a bit of a, how can I put it, a rough deal, actually. I think he did really well at Everton. When he was at Everton, he did really well. Was there for quite a long time. He then got the Man United job, which was, whoever succeeded Alex Ferguson was never going to be able to succeed at Old Trafford. The first person after Ferguson and the first person after Wenger, because they've been there for such a long time. And both clubs had had such success under both that the job after was almost going to be impossible. He then went to Sunderland, and was it Sunderland or was it?
He was at Sunderland.
He was at Sunderland. I think that might have been.
He done West Ham twice, hasn't he?
Yeah, so he got a 6-month deal at West Ham. That was 2018, and then they decided after the 6 month he must have joined mid-season. They decided not to renew his contract, and they got Pellegrini in, and then obviously they've gone back to him, and he's done brilliant, and I'm pleased for him.
It's nice to see another team, who have a big fan base, have a lot of potential, up there challenging for Europe, because they haven't been challenging for Europe for many years now. And
No.
if they, if it'd be interesting to see, they've got some tough games coming up. It'd be interesting to see, in the next 5 games after 30 games where they are, because at the moment I think they're very much in with a shout for top 6 at least.
Yeah, it's going to be good for them to have the fans back next season, and bar any catastrophe, they're going to have some form of European football. So, absolutely fair play.
So I was looking at the table from last year. From this time last year, with the 25 games played, West Ham were 18th in the table on 24 points. They are now 4th on 45 points. That's a gain of 21 points. What a remarkable turnaround.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, you say Antonio's missed out on about 10 games. The fans were complaining about selling that Diangana to West Brom.
Yep.
He's now pretty much an unforgotten man. Haller, he left as well, which was a big call considering they obviously sold for half of what they brought pretty much. And they haven't brought anyone either, so they've certainly shut up the fans, and just hope that the fans can see past it, because what they can see now is that their team is performing. So if they get behind their team and the manager, and they can focus on that instead of we all have qualms about the boards of our club, but it shows now that your team can do it if you just let them go out there and do it, and if you get behind them, then you've got European football at your doors, which is great.
So for me, as a Leeds fan, obviously after what Risdale done, then we had Ken Bates, then we had Cellino, and it was like, wow, these owners are awful. We're never going to get anywhere. Now we've got Razziani, and our club is only heading upwards. Like, our recruitment is great. Getting players like Rafinha for a steal. You just have to give these people a chance. If it's like, I don't know, Mike Ashley after X amount of years, he's not going to sort the club out, then yeah, kick off. But, fair play to West Ham for what they're achieving at the moment.
I mean, you look at the starting lineup for West Ham today, you wouldn't say that any of them players 1 to 11 was a weak link in their side. They're such a solid team now. Like, they've got individuals all over the pitch. I mean, at the back they're solid. They've got Diop, Soufal, as I've mentioned, Cresswell, who's been a long-standing servant for them, and then Fabianski in goals, just solid.
Yeah, he's underrated as well.
Yeah, definitely. He's had a great career, considering he was nicknamed Flapianski at Arsenal back in the day when he was young. He's not done too bad for himself.
We tend to have the curse of our number 2s not doing too badly when they leave. Next up, we are going to ask Lockie about his Leeds Legend of the Week. But first of all, we want to let everyone know how this actually came about. Once upon a time, Lockie provided us with a statement which was, Danny Rose is a Leeds legend. Now, we're not sure if Lockie actually realised that he never made a first-team appearance for Leeds. He was a product of the Youth Academy and was once named on the bench for a League Cup match, but was then sold that season when Leeds were relegated from the Championship to League One to help raise funds. From here, we sort of followed on the in-house joke into recent times, when any player, or maybe even person, if they ever played for Leeds, entered Ellen Road, or even sniffed the Leeds air, then they of course must be a Leeds legend and bleed Leeds. On that note, now we've given you the background, who have we got this week, Lockie?
This week, my Leeds United legend is Jermaine Beckford. Jermaine Beckford signed for Leeds in 2006, but it was not until the 2007-2008 season where Jermaine had an impact for Leeds United. He was an integral part of the Leeds United team who turned minus 15 points into a playoff place, narrowly missing out on promotion in the playoff final. Throughout his time at Leeds, Jermaine scored 71 goals in 126 games. There are 2 goals that will always stick out in my mind. After a Max Gradle sending off and trailing 1-0 at home to Bristol Rovers, it seemed we were heading to the League One playoffs yet again for another season after the previous 2 seasons of heartbreak. We managed to equalise and then upstep Jermaine to smash in the winner and send us back to the Championship. That goal was great, but the best goal was on the 3rd of January 2010 in the FA Cup third round versus Man United. After a long ball from Johnny Howsam, Jermaine took a heavy touch and then slots the ball past Thomas Kuszczak to cause absolute scenes across the country. We then went on to win the match 1-0, and it's always great when we beat Man United. At the end of the season, Jermaine went on to test himself in the Premier League for Everton. He is now a pundit and often appears on Leeds United television and Sky Sports. For those memories alone, the guy will always be a legend in my eyes. It's always lovely to get one over on Man United.
Nice. I think we all remember that night well. I think I was actually in a pub when that game was going on.
Did they exist?
What pubs?
Yeah, I've forgotten what one is.
What is a pub?
I certainly headed to the pub straight after that goal.
To the pub.
I think that was the last time we actually ever did anything decent in the FA Cup as well, because we have a really poor record in the FA Cup now.
What year was that, did you say?
2010. But yeah,
and that
still.
was the most recent.
What round was that?
3rd round.
3rd round. Did you go out in the 4th?
Yeah, we went to. I actually went to the game. It was Tottenham away. Jermaine Beckford scored with the last kick of the game in the 94th minute in injury time, and we went back to Ellen Road and lost. Yeah, it was great. But we were League One back then. It was what an achievement.
So you'd drawn United and Spurs back to back?
Yeah.
Ugh.
And we were undefeated in 2 games.
You were?
But yeah, we're rubbish in the FA Cup now, so we don't need to talk about that. But yeah, Jermaine Beckford, legend of the week.
Nice, mate. Nice. Well done. Yeah, it's nice to have a local, most recent, legend for us to sort of relate to, and we could definitely all relate and enjoy a goal against Man United.
I don't think that goal's ever going to get forgotten, I don't think.
No, it's the same as, not really on the Leeds subject, but MK Dons getting one over.
Oh, the 4-0.
That is the one.
I remember that. We were in the Ball pub, weren't we?
We were. And an Arsenal legend scored 2. Wilbury got 2, Benicophobe got 2. Don't know why I remember that, but it sticks in my mind.
Well, I don't.
It was August 2014. So.
Oh, Jesus. I've slept since then.
Not sure one guy will be sleeping well is the referee Darren Drysdale after he got charged. Just want to get your guys' views on that.
Yeah, it goes to show that anyone can lose their cool with what's being said to him. And I believe the player come out and said he didn't want him to be charged because what he said was out of order. It's just one of those moments. You see tension between referees and players all the time, but referees are really good at keeping their cool until this incident.
I think it raises a bigger issue, actually. I mean, ever since I can remember, the referees in football have received abuse from stands, from players. Any decision that they make, go back in a few years. Chelsea were renowned for it back in the day when Jose took over. Any decision goes against Chelsea, you'd have John Terry there, Carvalho, round the referee, berating him for every decision that they made. And I think, this ref obviously got to a stage where he was fed up of being abused during the match and decided to stand up for himself. Now, obviously, he's not allowed to do that, and rightfully he'll get punished. But I think it's a good opportunity to raise a point in football where I think the refs need a little bit more protection on the pitch. Why should they be abused for every decision that they make?
For me, I'm a bit frustrated with the FA because it's clearly a statement, but in the wrong direction. He should be used as a guinea pig as such, because in order for the FA to sort of be sending out a half-hearted warning to the players, but they're not really doing that. They're charging someone who, as I say, he's only stood up for himself. The countless times that footballers surround a referee, regularly abuse without being reprimanded is pretty disgraceful, really, considering, not to count the fact that what names referees are called from fans and are probably abused on social media that we don't know about, considering what we do know about social media. I'm sure it does go on. as you say, going back to Jose Mourinho and trying to sort of take advantage. We all dislike referees who are weaker to come to pressure, but he stood up for himself and showed some
Yeah.
authority. So to me, I want to say well done to him. He possibly overstepped the mark.
I think it was a breath of fresh air for a referee to stand up to a player and say, I ain't going to be abused by you. But then I also think there's another way around it. So referees have also got ability to book and send players off. Now, if they don't want to be abused, if every time, for example, in rugby, if you swear at a referee, you'll get banned.
Yeah.
So if a referee, I know it's completely different, but I know if every time you get sworn at as a referee in football, you issued them a yellow card, they're not going to do it again, are they?
Yeah, I think in rugby only the captain is allowed to be the focal point for the team, isn't he?
And that came in football a few years ago, but that seems to have gone out the window as well.
Yeah, did it maybe last year or the year before? People were dishing out cards for sort of, what do they call it nowadays? For sort of reacting afterwards.
Dissent.
Yeah, that's the one, mate. Yeah, thank you. And that's again, that's not really carried on. As I say, he overstepped the mark, and can you blame him really? And his decision against of what Brett would say is against some prima donnas. I would recommend to listen to what Dean Ashton said on TalkSport. He said the lines of the same. He said, if I think back to the amount that I gave to referees back in the day, and it still goes on now, like he's sort of quite ashamed of what does go on in the world of sport, and it really is quite sort of really is a must listen if you are interested in that topic.
Obviously, things are going to get said in the heat at the moment. That's understandable. That happens in any wake of life, whether it's sport or not. But I think there has got to come a point where players have got to start respecting refs a little bit more. And I mean, obviously, I know it's frustrating because we've spoken on this podcast about the standard of the refereeing not being great, which is what it is. At the end of the day, they're not out there trying to make bad decisions. They are trying their best. But I think when they're being abused every 5 minutes by players for making decisions that they think they're making the right ones, then it's not going to help them. There's not an environment that the referees are going to be able to thrive in, I don't think.
No, I'm glad this has kind of happened because we give the not very nice side of it last week, and this week we're sort of backing them up to some degree, because as you just said, the pure amount of pressure that is on their shoulders, not just during that game, but obviously throughout the season, the countless times that things are going to happen, and even as we said, even more so with VAR, that there now comes a point where, as we said, they shouldn't be the scapegoat, and I'm glad that consequently that has come even more to the forefront with this happening. So,
but I think it's only going to be a good thing that it's happened if actually something gets done about it. It gets swept under the rug as just a one-off incident. Then it isn't a good thing because the verbal abuse of referees will continue. And then eventually, at some point down the line, this will occur again, and you'll just go round in circles.
well, as the United game was just finished, shall we move on to our super sub predictions?
We can indeed. First of all, I'd like to thank Miles, one of our listeners, for sending us his predictions and joining in this week. Very much appreciated. If anyone else listening would like to join in next week, feel free to either put a message on our Facebook or Twitter page, or you can send either one of us a message directly. Right, gents. So this week, well, it's not been a great week for any of us, really. Where shall I start? Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. So that starts with Liam. You had 2 points, so you had 2 correct results in the Manchester United game and the Arsenal game.
Well done, AC Milan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you did well there. Next comes you, Lockie. You had 5 points, so that's 5 correct results, no correct scores.
No, 5 correct.
In second place was myself. I got 3 correct results and a correct score in the Aston Villa Leicester game. And Miles takes the victory this week. So next week, Miles will be presenting the podcast all by himself. Correct scores in the West Ham and the Aston Villa game, and a correct result in the Manchester City and Manchester United game. So I think there's room for improvement, boys, that's for sure.
I'm only looking up, which is good.
Well, yeah, there is that. Things can only get better. Right, so the fixtures for this week are as follows. Manchester City at home to West Ham United. Leeds are at home to Aston Villa. Bournemouth are at home to Watford. Sevilla are at home to Barcelona. Leicester at home to Arsenal. Chelsea at home to Manchester United. And AS Roma at home to AC Milan. I will start off by giving you my predictions. So I've gone for a 3-1 Manchester City win. I've gone for a 2-1 Leeds win. I've gone for a 2-1 Watford away win. A 1-1 draw between Sevilla and Barcelona. I've gone for Leicester to beat us 2-1. I've gone for Chelsea to draw 1-1 against Manchester United and Roma to get a home win against AC Milan 2-0. Liam, do you want to give us your predictions?
Okay, so I've gone Man City 5, West Ham 0. I've got Leeds United 1, the mighty Villa 2. Now that Jack Grealish is out, probably not. It's wonderful news for me. Bournemouth 2, Watford 1. I've gone very bold this week, considering last week went terribly. Sevilla 2, Barcelona 1. Don't know why I've done this. I've gone Arsenal to get a result and go 1-1 at Leicester. I've gone bold again. Chelsea 3, United 2. Open for a cracker. Considering AC Milan let me down this week, I've gone 1-1 Roma versus Milan.
Well, before I give my predictions, I just want to say how happy I am that you have chosen Aston Villa to beat Leeds, because judging by your performance this week, that means it's not going to happen. Okay, so
to be fair, going by some of them scores, I just reckon he got Freddie to hold up some fingers and just pick from there, to be fair.
Just shut his eyes.
We were doing colour by numbers earlier and we just went with it.
I've got Man City 3, West Ham 0. Leeds 2, Aston Villa 1.
Boo.
Bournemouth 1, Watford 1. Sevilla 0, Barcelona 2. Leicester 2, Arsenal 1. Chelsea 2, Man United 2. And Roma 1, AC Milan 0. They're my predictions for this week.
Thank you very much. And like I said, if anyone else does want to get involved, Miles, you're not welcome. Only joking. Feel free to send us your predictions and we'll jot them down and tally them up for you and give you your scores next week.
Can you guys check out the midweek games?
I saw Haaland's banging goal against Sevilla. What a goal that was. That man. The sooner Leeds sign him, the better, to be honest. I know how much he wants to play for us. So just get him signed up.
He bleeds Leeds, doesn't he?
He does.
Did you see his goal at the weekend against Schalke? Scissor kick. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, he enjoyed that one, didn't he? I think he said it was his best day.
Yeah. Going back to Champions League, I watched the Barca PSG game on the Tuesday, and then I switched between Juve and the Premiership game, I think, on the Wednesday. But PSG were just dominant against Barcelona teams as a shadow of themselves, really. And then Mbappe just ripped them to pieces, that defence. I mean, the defence isn't great anyway, but he's just a world-class talent. But Mbappe, yeah, it was just different class. I mean, the third goal, the counter-attack goal, the fourth goal, sorry, should I say, the counter-attack goal was just unbelievable. Just the quickness and the efficiency of getting the ball from forward to back, and it just, once he's on the ball, you ain't catching him.
Yeah, he must be the quickest player in the modern game at the minute. I don't think I've ever seen go through the gears as quickly.
The only one that I would probably maybe would like to see him in a race against was that Alphonso Davies, for Bayern.
He is something else, mate. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's pretty rapid. That'd be a good race, that.
He's still very young, isn't he?
Both, yeah, both. Well, the question is who could afford him, especially with the current climate of finances. And where would he go? I mean...
Then we'll talk of Liverpool, but that's based on the fact that probably one of Mane or Salah leaves. Which at this rate, who's going to want them to?
Well, yeah.
Can Madrid afford him?
This is the thing. I think that would be the only other place. I think he does need to leave PSG to test himself more than prove himself. I don't think he needs to prove himself per se. I think wherever he goes, he's going to be a success. He's just that good. I mean, he's done it for France, so there's no reason why.
Yeah, he's done it in a World Cup final.
Exactly.
Did he score in the World Cup final?
I don't think he scored, but I think he was outstanding on the day.
Oh, okay. I think I was on a cruise ship.
I think it was Griezmann, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what a bad buy that's turned out to be.
Yeah, it's not worked out at all, is it? Same as, I think that's part of Barcelona's woes. Coutinho, Griezmann, Dembele could sort of say as well. hasn't particularly worked out as they had hoped.
I've just checked Mbappe. Mbappe did score in the World Cup final, the 4th goal.
I did think he had scored. I wanted to double check as well.
Yeah.
I think from my side, the problem that we have and have had is the quality that Ronaldo and Messi have brought. It's going to be so hard for anyone to get near that. So in my comparison, if people were to say who's the best player in the world right now, I would still probably, I don't know why I'd still choose one of them two. And that is, in all honesty, that is probably wrong, because they're probably not. But because they sort of stick in your head and because they're still around, you'd still pick them. But I suppose having an impact on the game, as Mbappe did, then yeah, he has to be considered. I don't like to say it, and we touched upon this player last week, but the impact that Bruno Fernandes has, I don't know, could he probably be up there in the top 5 players just because he's involved in every game. Haaland as well is definitely up there. He's an interesting transfer. I know he's got a clause at the minute. I think I said to Brett that if Man City don't try and go for him, then they're going to miss out on probably the best centre forward in years to come, because the guy is, as Lockie said, he's just a machine.
I saw a stat I just want to tell you about with your argument to who's better, Ronaldo or Haaland. I think Ronaldo's legacy obviously would probably put you towards him. For Haaland to score as many goals as Ronaldo has, he'd have to score 44 goals every year until he's 35. Now, in this current climate, I don't think he's going to score 44 goals every season, but he is decent. He's definitely the next big thing with Mbappe.
I think that would be a similar stat to Messi as well, because his numbers are ridiculous as well.
I think as a footballing world, we have to say, like, by God, thank you guys. Like, you've truly been like we never see before. And then, but it's for me, it's difficult to take it in and then move on to other footballers when they're still around.
I mean, I've been lucky enough to witness Lionel Messi play football live. I mean, it was just before I went to the new camp last year, I hadn't seen him. I've previously been to the new camp, but unfortunately he was injured when I went the first time. But yeah, when I went last year with Lockie, we got to saw him live, and he was just great. He's like the best player I've seen live by an absolute country margin.
The ball was pretty much stuck to his feet, wasn't it?
It was different class. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. I was just sitting there, just in awe, just because it was like it didn't matter. Like, he could receive the ball under pressure, have 3 or 4 around him, and he's just still had the ball so close all the time, and he was just able to shrug off challenge after challenge after challenge. And it's not just that his general play; it's just his numbers that were just ridiculous as well. Going back to Mbappe, I just think he's got potential to be maybe not at their level, but to be the world's leading player for years to come. And I think the battle between him and Haaland is just going to be another one that it's brilliant when you're going to have 2 players that are going to push each other, push the levels.
Because of how young they are as well. I mentioned Bruno, but I think Bruno's sort of pushing on, 26, 27. It's obviously prime, whereas these guys are sort of 3 or 4 years behind. So we're going to see them a lot longer. Yeah. But yeah, from what Haaland was, a year ago, to where he is now is just phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Don't ask me why, but I've got a feeling Haaland ends up at Bayern.
I reckon he's going to City.
I've just got a feeling, just because Lewandowski's coming towards the end of his career.
Bayern do always buy well, somehow.
And Bayern always poach from Bundesliga. They've just bought Upamecano.
Yeah, they're not silly. They're not silly.
That's definitely an option, but I'd like to see him in the Premier League. And he was born in England, so I think that he might be attracted to come to the Premier League. I mean, obviously he's not going to come and play for Leeds like he said he wants to. I think he's just joking.
Yeah, just not Ellen Road.
I think potentially he could go to Man City. Not like I think they need him because they're so good anyway. But
yeah, they've effectively been playing without a striker this whole season. Jesus has only played at about 50%, I think.
Just imagine how good they would be with him there.
Definitely some talent around, and definitely been some good matches. So,
do they not go for Kane?
I don't think they do. Maybe that's just me thinking that they should go for Haaland. Kane is probably better suited, obviously with Prem experience. But I would say Haaland is just the better option, being young. If they buy him now for 60, 70, there's no reason why they can't sell him on for exactly the same as they get a good 4 seasons out of him and he goes for more money. somewhere else. I mean, I say somewhere else. Where do you go from Man City when you probably win the Premier League and potentially European competition? So I think that's just better business. As like you said, they don't particularly need him. Whereas if they buy Kane, they're probably he's only going to. I doubt he's going to go anywhere else for major money. So if they want to be sensible, which we know they probably don't have to be, but Haaland is my bet. Well, what Harry Kane does, I have no idea.
Well, I reckon this will be his last season at Tottenham.
I reckon Harry Kane goes to Paris Saint-Germain.
What, to replace Mbappe?
Potentially.
To go and join Poch.
Surely either one of the two would have to leave just for finances. I'm not sure Harry Kane would demand a major amount, but considering he's got two big stars there, he's going to be surely demanding not far off what they're on. I'm sure he'd somehow find out. Again, whether that's the right move, considering PSG, okay, they were in the final last year, but
hey, he's guaranteed something there that he's definitely not guaranteed at Spurs.
Please enlighten us.
Trophies. Right, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you again for listening. We hope you enjoyed our show. If you could like, comment or subscribe on our social platforms, that would be muchly appreciated. We will be back next week with another edition. Until next time, goodbye.